We said that the central question in philosophy for us, for human beings, is, what is the meaning of my life? Is there any sense in my existence? Is there any durable, permanent sense in my life? Or is it true that I am transient? I am an accident, a sort of perhaps a little more developed ape, a bunch of electrons and quarks, perhaps a bit of cosmic dust, alive for a while, for a short time, and then turning into dust for eternity? Or am I more than this, a creature of a loving, omnipotent God? Is my final destination eternal life with God? So all those questions somehow are focusing on this question about meaning of life. But it takes a short time to realize that people give all kinds of answers to most questions. And it only stresses the duty of my personal obligation to find truth for myself. For example, the meaning of life has been defined as a game, a story, tragedy, a mission, disease or desire, nirvana, honor, learning, suffering, and so on. But when we go a little deeper, we realize, when we analyze such answers, we finally come to one basic division of those answers. Is life in any way meaningful for eternity, or is it just a temporary flicker of matter, an accidental glint of living fire in cosmos? And the central answer here shall be between a believer in God, who revealed himself to humanity somehow, which is a religious attitude, or a second attitude which says there is no God, there is no sense in believing in any God because there is no God. And therefore man will have to create his own values, his own desires, his own projections. And naturally, we find many such projections, or little, so to speak, idols in life. Money, pleasure, honor, popularity, riches, being in the center of limelight for a while. Naturally, man is inventive in this area. But one thing is certain: all such idols produced by man are temporary only. subject to final disappearance, including, of course, human life too. So either it is a belief in God, and then meaning of life becomes radically valuable, sensible, purposeful, leading to final consummation, to final glorification, and perhaps eternal existence. Or there is no God, and therefore we simply are the highest, perhaps, forms of life for a little while. Because if you really think about it, how long, how durable is one human life? Even if you live 100 years or over 100 years. On the clock of ages, man is a momentary flicker of existence. And naturally, there are many desires which lead us to superficial, unexamined existence. One of the greatest philosophers, Socrates, who is sentenced to death in 399 in Athens, said a very famous statement which we still repeat: an unexamined life is not worth living. An unexamined life is not worth living. However, there are some obstacles to thought, to thinking. First, there is irrational thinking, illogical thinking, thinking which is mainly emotional mixture of images, thoughts, but also feelings. And therefore, by definition, it has to be chaotic and misleading. Such thinking is, of course, leading nowhere. It leads to mistakes and disaster finally. Second, we have to have, as already mentioned before, courage to think for ourselves. The word courage may seem out of place here, but if you think a little longer, it is important to realize that to think independently, to decide to be an individual, you will have to have courage. To be different, to be able to say no to some things, to stress your individuality, your freedom. And this very fact of being an individual requires courage, primarily not only to be different, but to think in one's own original way. The art of thinking is by no means easy, because after all, we are not clean spirits, clean minds. We are also biological organisms. We are animals, although the classic definition of men was rational animals. That was an optimistic definition because quite often very many people behave in very emotional, irrational, wishful thinking. The animal nature, their instinctual needs, and their quite often perverted desires are the main stream, the main power, the main energy, the main battery in their lives. Therefore, again, courage to think for yourself. Nevertheless, humans, because they are humans, they cannot live without some meaning in life. The whole question is, where do you discover this meaning? What becomes the center of your existence? What will be the main driving force of your decisions? Because that is where you finally will go. That is what you finally will follow.